morning or evening. Are we ready? Oh, okay. I was waiting for someone to tell me, like, you're good to go. Well, good evening and good morning, everybody. I don't know where everybody is from. I am from San Diego, California, here in the US of A. My name is Dr. Constance Leland. I am an educator for about 11 years now, and I've been a professor and a dean at multiple universities. American National University, I was a dean for business and accounting, along with IT, information technology. I also was a dean at an on-ground university, and as a leader in the education world, you see everything. And so part of the educational system here in America, I was actually looking at the statistics that there are over 1 million international students last year who came in, which is a little bit higher than 2022 during COVID. And a lot of students who come here in America, international students especially, wants to know the study skills, the structure of American education. But honestly, the first thing that I tell my students when I teach them is that culture first. Culture is super important to know before study skills, right? Because even if you are super smart, even if you know a lot of things, people will get turned off here in America anyway if you don't know the culture, how you communicate, how you assert yourself, how you raise your hands, how you speak up, how you answer the questions, right? There's so many nuances. So what I first taught an international student, I'm an international student. I'm an immigrant coming in here since I was the age of 13. I'm closer to 50 now, so I've been here a while. And as an international student who can't speak English, that was a challenge for me coming in here. I have 4 degrees, coming into 5. I have a bachelor's in communications, which is journalism, and software computer programming. I have an MBA, organizational leadership. I also have a master's in information technology and cybersecurity specifically, and counter-terrorism. I have a doctorate in international business. And then now I am trying to pursue another MIS, which is Master in Science, for industrial and organizational psychology. What that means is I will be helping business leaders in their mindset when they lead their organization. There's a huge movement in education here in America. One is a lot of students leave education because they don't see the practicality, right, of education anymore, because you can get a job without proper education. Here's the thing with that. When you go into a massive organization, unless I've seen it in information technology, though, you don't need a degree to work and really make good money in information technology. But if you want to move up in an organization in management position, you need a minimum of a master's degree. And you better be in business or IT. Oh, they'll look at you like, what is psychology master's going to be in business for information technology? They make a lot of money. My husband's been in it for 3 decades. He used to be the global architect for Amazon Web Services. What that means is anything that breaks in Amazon all over the world, you would have to call my husband to fix the problem. So we're big in education, but you have to have practical education, meaning you have to know the culture if you're an international student to come in here. That would be the very first thing that I would advise anyone coming. Another thing is there's a movement now in education here in terms of the how-to, right? A lot of you guys, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on Facebook, if you're on TikTok, you will see a lot of social media, right, coming in. How do you navigate? So I also own a business called Level Up, and I actually started that business because of a lawyer, international students from Africa, and Indian students as well. When they went to work here as an international student, one of their manager took credit for their work. And so they asked me, Dr. Leland, is it customary for American organization or American bosses to take over and credit themselves, even though I did the project? And I was like, no. Actually, what they did is they think that you don't know what they're doing. And obviously you didn't because you let it happen. That's what happened. So what I did is they were in my class for organizational culture. And so I taught them, I would say, a good month on how to communicate with their boss, knowing your learning style. How do you learn? Do you learn visually? Do you auditory? Do you learn kinesthetically? Or is it a combination? I am a visual learner and I'm a kinesthetic learner, meaning if you give me a theory, right, to study, I want to take that theory apart. Then I want to test that theory if it works. If it doesn't work, then I know it doesn't work. Then I don't even want to have to work at that. I keep moving on to see what it works. So what I do is I extrapolate the studies that's been happening, right, as theory, and I put it to work in action. And then my students, those two actually, who were separate companies, by the way, after about 2 months, they became their boss's bosses. And that was so amazing. And so they said, Dr. Leland, you need to sell this class outside of the university, which I did. And I sent it to pretty much every business leaders out there that I can think of all over the world. I do have a podcast and I have about 90 nations and countries. And I grow my YouTube channel 41,000% in 8 months last year. Because I help students outside of the classroom, I call it beyond the classroom, on navigating how you can make money, how you can actually be better than your manager in America, the way you learn the culture, the way you communicate, and study habits, right? There's a lot of us who study, especially I find that my international students, especially Indian students, South African students, and Pakistan, are very studious. You guys are very studious. You're very serious in your studies, but it's all about the book, which is the theory. So what I do is I balance those and said, hey, why don't we study what is happening in your life right now? Find that theory and let's test it. And so I love experiential learning, meaning I take the theory in the classroom, then I ask you, what's your experiences on this so far? So I can help you navigate through it. I have about 12,000 students so far. The biggest platform that I have presented is about 10,000 students every day for the last 3 days last year, so about 30,000. I have about 7 books. I'm coming up with the 8th one right now that I'm publishing, and really is to help people beyond the classroom, right? The classroom, a lot of it in America is a lot of theory. And now we're learning that we should definitely take case studies. That means real life situation like Facebook, right? Twitter, and becoming X. What is the leadership doing so that we can connect, bridging that gap between theory and practical approach? Do you guys have any specific questions for me? Check it out. Sorry about that. My Alexa just went on. What was the question?
The question and answers will be after your lecture, ma'am. That's what sir is saying. और शायद मैडम डिस्काउंट हो गई शायद सर.
Okay, perfect. I was like, if you guys have any questions, I usually stop from there and make sure to address any questions so far. All right. Now, in terms of study habits, right? We're going to look at study habits. When it comes to study habits here, um, a lot of people are busy. We wear many hats. Some of us have business, some of us are a student, some of us have side hustle business, and then some of us have kids, right? Mom, dad, and then, of course, your friends. So you don't have time to do anything else. Most of my students, my business, and I have kids. So people will ask, how do you make sure that you actually have the time to study, be good at what you're doing in school, still work full time, technically 2 jobs, and run a business? Really, that's the questions that most of my students often tells me. And I give them really 2 skills, okay, when it comes to time management. The first one is called the Eisenhower. I don't know if you guys know the president of the United States back then. It's the President Eisenhower. He was the most profound, really president when it comes to time management. How it works, it's a 4 quadrant. So imagine there's 4 squares, right? And what he does is he puts all of his tasks in these 4 squares. He would say, what is urgent that can wait? What is urgent that's really going to be done? What is somewhat urgent, but I could do it in a week? And what is something that I have to do, but it's not super important? When you put everything in that quadrant, you can visually see which one is a priority, right? The second thing, after I put all of those tasks in a quadrant, how many of you guys actually know the Pomodoro for time management? Anybody? No one knows the Pomodoro. Well, no one. Okay. So the Pomodoro is, if you think about the kitchen, you know, those little timer. I don't know if I have my timer. I don't think I have my timer here. It's literally that timer that you have. And what I do is, okay, first of all, I'm sure you guys have cell phones everywhere. Like you have cell phones here and you have, you know, you're listening here. You're going to go to social media. You're going to be cooking. Some of you do smoking. Some of you, you know, screaming at your kids or your grandkids. There's so many things that's happening. Some of us are doing this and looking at TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, right? But you know you're supposed to work. I know you're supposed to work, but you're not. So at the end of the day, you look busy, you seem busy, you're exhausted, you're tired, but then you didn't do anything. And that's every single day. So how do you get things done? Pomodoro is this. You turn off everything, even your cell phone. If you don't have a timer, you can use your cell phone. You literally work intensely in your whatever project that you have, 25 minutes. 25 minutes. Then you have 5 minutes break. Okay, 5 minutes break, you can do whatever you want. 25 minutes again, 5 minutes break. You do that for about an hour. After an hour, you take 30 minutes. And you're probably thinking, that doesn't work. It works. The reason it does, there's also a study. I used to attend a neuroscience marketing. I teach at the doctoral level for neuromarketing. And my manager actually at that time, as a dean, sent me to a class to study this lady who he does neurosurgery for the last 30 years to understand better psychology in people. So what we do is we study how does human brain behave when it comes to study habits, when it comes to consumerism, when it comes to behavior, and really look at the patterns, right? And so when we look at the patterns, we see that our brain can handle only so much. And because of our social media, TikTok, YouTube shorts, all that, it seems like our brain literally is trained to only listen 30 seconds, maybe a minute. If you don't capture someone's attention in that 30 seconds or a minute, they scroll, right? Because we have been trained to scroll instead of take a minute. So what do you think your habits is at work? Oh my God, this project. I don't want to do this. Okay, let me go to Facebook. Oh my God, my friends have, oh my God, Instagram. And then by the time you know it, it's time to go back home. And you're like, oh, I didn't do that project. Guess what? Because you've trained your brain to scroll, you got to retrain your brain 25 minutes intense work. Another thing that I wanted to give you that works for my students and myself that I use is 3 a day. If you guys familiar of Facebook, the sister of the owner of Facebook, I've met him once actually. I met her, she had a book signing, and she told me what she does when she does so much. I do a lot, and she does a lot. And so I said, what do you do? We exchange information, and she actually wrote a book, and it literally says 3 a day. To manage your life, to do 3 a day. And they're like, and I said, okay, how do you do it? And I told her how I do it. And she said exactly that. So here's the thing. You have so much to do every single day. If you have a list of 3 big things a day, big things, you have a project, right? Picking up kids is a big deal, but it's not part of the 3 big things. That's part of your routine. The 3 big things that you want to accomplish for that day. The rest, like meetings, picking up the kids, going to lunch with friends, talking, all of those are just part of your day. But you need 3 big things you need to accomplish. And the reason for that is because you're training your brain that you are accomplishing something. When you train your brain every day that you're just, it's another day, you actually are not productive, and your self-esteem subconsciously goes down. There's a study on that. And so part of the study is having the study skills and also the habits as a worker and a student. We're always a student for life. We all are a student for life. And if you're not, keep going. Whatever that you love and whatever you're passionate about, keep going, right? So those 3 things, 3 big things, put it on your check mark. Also, visually look at a calendar. If you don't have one, have one. Even if it's like a sticky notes calendar on your side, right? Have something visually, not your phone calendar, not your, you could do it on a notebook, but something you could see on the wall visually. What it does is it rewires your brain that you're actually doing productive things. It takes about, I forgot what it's 14 days to create that habit. That means you have to consistently do it. Another thing that I recently actually was looking at is the metabolism. When you hit a certain age, I'd say about after 40, you get tired a lot quickly too, right? The food that you eat makes a bit difference, and the things that you drink, right? So here's the thing. If you are trying to lose weight, it's been working for me, and also alertness to the brain, drink very cold water the very first thing in the morning. I'm a tea drinker. I'm a coffee drinker. I cannot drink. I'm Asian. I can't drink cold water. Okay, that's just who I am. But here's the thing. When I actually hit certain age, about 40, 45, about 45, when I drink water in the morning, the very first thing, not only that it gets my metabolism started, okay, it actually wakes up my brain. I'm ready to go. And Dr. Betkar was so funny. I saw him on LinkedIn saying, you need to go to sleep so you can have energy in the morning. And I said, I am full of energy. It doesn't matter. I sleep about 3 to 4 hours a day. It's not good for you to sleep that little, by the way. It's not good for your brain. You need at least 6 to 7 hours. But if I sleep more than 5 hours, I get migraines. I got some issues I have to deal with, okay? But for people, you need 6 to 7 hours for your brain to really rest fully and get ready for the next day. As we age, however, we don't like to sleep as much for whatever reason. But at the end of the day, guys, it doesn't matter how busy, how much money you got, what kind of car you drive, what kind of house you drive. If you don't have health, whatever you're doing is nothing. Okay? Nothing. So the first thing you have to do is make it a habit to eat healthy, sleep well, and get protection for that brain, for your body. Go to the doctor, even if you don't want to. okay, just to get checked. Because sometimes it's too late after that. I had cancer 2011. I didn't almost finish my doctorate because of that. And I'm still here, and I had 2 small kids at that time. So health is first more than anything. When it comes to study habits, do something that's working for you. But here's another thing. I don't know if I have access to any of you, but I will send you, or I'll send Dr. Picard if you ask him. I'll send you a link that I use for my students to know what is your what preferred study, what is your learning style, right? If you know your learning style, it makes a huge difference on how you deal with people, whether it's your teacher, whether it's your manager, whether it's your spouse, right? Or your partner. Your learning style is the way you communicate with people, the way you think through your brain. Your learning style is also the way you deal with business. Okay. So if a business tells you this, you got to do, but you're not auditory and you have to look at things, you're never going to deal with that business again, because they're going to tell you you didn't listen. You are listening, but that's not your preferred learning style. Your preferred learning style is visually. So in order for you to really do well in your life is to know who you are with your learning style. Okay. And then once you know your learning style, then you're going to look at and work on your SWOT analysis. That is your strength, your weaknesses, your opportunity to grow, and what is your threat, right? And you have to be honest with yourself. Don't worry about other people and what they think of you and all that nonsense. Because at the end of the day, you have to live with you. You're not living with those people. You have to live with you. Continuously improve, continuously learn. And it's not all about learning in, formally in the universities. It's not about that. I've learned quite a bit. I think I spent about $500,000 on my education already, right? And what I'm doing is I'm creating a business for the world to see on how to learn differently. So I'm marrying theory that I have taught and also practicality. What can you do now for your job? What can you do now to communicate with business leaders? If you run a business, how do you run a business in a different country, in a different culture? Because honestly, with technology like this, we can literally have business with anyone. I have about 6 partners all over the world for my business, and I have never met them in real life. Maybe only 1 or 2 of them, but the rest of them I don't know. So it's the way you communicate with people that makes a huge difference, whether they like you or they don't like you. And just like TikTok, you got 30 seconds if they like you or not. And they're like, that person's giving me a wrong vibe. And you're not even aware that you're giving that wrong vibe, right? Self-awareness is the key. But before to even become a self-aware person, you got to know the culture, how they deal with business, how they deal with people, how they did with study. How do you study in the first place? And there's people out there. I actually made it my second business, my third or fourth. My second business was helping students, international students, navigate the educational system here in America. Sometimes it can get complicated. And then you add culture in there and you add no friends in there because you have no idea how to speak the language. It gets complicated. So what I do is I help students make sure that they know the culture first. Once that's done, then the structure of the study becomes easier. It's just that external factor is hard to navigate, right? Do I have any more time? Okay, so I'm going to give you 5 more minutes because I do have to drop off my kids in about 10 minutes. Another thing that I wanted to end this is make as many friends as possible everywhere in the world, because you don't have to pay someone to know their culture. You're going to know their culture the way they communicate with you, right? LinkedIn is a platform where you need to go and really just listen to people, their thought process, and also how they speak, how they behave, and their mannerisms, and also the way they treat people when they come into the room, in the audio room, the way they speak, they cut them off. Like, I listen to every detail and nuances when people speak. It's because that's what I do. I used to work for an international company for Nestle Coffee, and I was their communication specialist 20 years ago. I used to work for Geico. I've met Warren Buffett. I don't know if you guys know who Warren Buffett is. He's just a billionaire, right? He's super nice. And he taught me two things, and I'm going to share it with you guys today. In life, don't complicate it. There's only two things that you do every single day. You are either working for your opportunities or you are working for your limitations. When people tell you, I want to do this, oh, I don't have time for that. That's working on your limitations, right? When people ask you, hey, would you go ahead and speak to here? I say, oh no, I'm too busy. Of course, everyone is busy. But my mission in life is to level up the world through education. How am I going to hit my mission if I say no to Dr. Bikar? I don't. Therefore, I'm working on my limitations if I say no. But in life, I work for opportunities, not limitations. That's all. Any questions?
Very good evening from India and good morning to you, ma'am. This is Dr. Badiuddin Ahmed from Hyderabad, India. It was very wonderful deliberations as well as education skills, and you've shown the importance of communication, and the very important thing you said, 4 quadrants, and that's true. When you really get into the 4 quadrants, we have 4 Ds also. So that is doing, delaying, and delegating and deleting. If also we practice that 4 Ds also, I think we could manage ourselves. Once you can manage yourself, time gets automatically managed. Generally, as you rightly mentioned in relation that people say, I'm busy. Actually, nobody has got more than 24 hours. Anything that we need to manage within the 24 hours. And that's through your good planning and as a skill, that's your skill, which really matters a lot. Then what I presume education. So whatever skills I have or skills somebody's have, they can make use those skills and make big difference in the society. As education and skills topic of today's lecture. My question to you, ma'am, do they are independent of each other?
Okay, so the question is education dependent or independent with each other? Can you repeat that?
Exactly, madam, exactly.
Well, for education, for me, the way I see education is differently than most people. Some people that get their doctoral program is PhD, which is a lot of theory. I got my education doctorate for a DBA, which is Doctorate in Business Administration. And the difference between the two is that I take the formal education, which is university, and then I marry the informal, which is called life, right? And I marry both because in today's society, if you are only book smart, you're not going to survive.
True, true.
So both.
Both are needed to be survive in this dynamic world, you mean to say?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you so much. Very wonderful session from your side.
Thank you. Anybody else? And I apologize. My bulldog is snoring. I have 2 English bulldogs and they're snoring. I apologize. Any other questions?
Hello. Good evening, Dr. Bedkar sir, Principal sir, the organizing committee, and good evening. I think it is good morning for you over there, ma'am. Wonderful presentation you have made, and really, the education system, how it should work. So you started with the knowledge, that is a cognitive domain, what we can call it as, and then it has to be turned into psychomotor domain. It means where the person learns the skill of, doing something. And one step ahead is affective domain, what you were discussing about the interpersonal ties. Very well placed. So interpersonal ties and the what you said, that the wave of your interpersonal ties should be very strong to learn further and further and to grow further. So that is very perfectly you have placed. But many of the time, I belong to medical field. I am a professor in medical college. Many of the time, it happens that people learn about the cognition. The study is there with them. The second thing, psychomotor domain, mechanically they are doing the activities, but the affective domain, they cannot reach up to that level. So promote them from psychomotor to affective domain means, that interpersonal ties and the way we are behaving with each other. So how we can grow that sense, in the budding doctors or budding, the people in a various other section or faculties. So what you would like to comment on this?
Great. I actually have a lot of medical doctor friends. Most of them are from Harvard. I used to work, well, my husband used to live in Harvard. So I surround myself with really smart people, way smarter than me. And they actually like affect the way I think. So with people, right, it doesn't matter how smart you are. If they don't like you, right, they're not going to work with you. I surround myself with a bunch of CEOs in the Fortune 500 companies, and I also hire people a lot. At one point or another, I had about maybe 10,000 employees, right? Some of them are from Harvard and MIT. They're very smart people. At the end of the day, what you do for your community, honestly, your job right now, the reason that you have a job is because you're trying to solve a problem. I don't care if you're a medical doctor, you're a street sweeper, you're a journalist, you are from BBC, doesn't matter. What you do right now is to help other people. What you're doing right now is solving a problem, right? It doesn't matter how good you are in there, but if you have a really nasty personality, no one will want to work with you. No one. And so what I teach, even medical doctors from Harvard, I give them a hard time. I have friends who are medical. I said, why do you have so much attitude today? None of your nurses wants to work with you. It doesn't matter how good of a surgeon you are. My stepdad was a surgeon for all surgeons. He has a really good attitude. Interpersonal skills is important. It doesn't matter what industry. We all want to make money. We all want to have a better life. How your attitude and how you see yourself has nothing to do with your title. It's from here. To learn to be nice.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your wonderful explanation, what you are given. So we should work with a zeal, enthusiasm, and the work should come from heart to heart. So that will, I think, will grow our business further, and that will really promote the education. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Madam, what you rightly mentioned, the make good number of friends, that is what the buzzword of this 21st century, that you need to have network. The more network is more net worth. The net worth of the person is being identified with the network he or she has, if I am not wrong. Do you agree, madam?
No, you're right. I concur, right? Your net worth is your network, right?
Yeah, thank you.
It's because you surround yourself with winners, right?
Yes.
We're always going to be negative. You complain about your kids, you complain about your coworker, your spouse. It's okay. That's normal.
Yeah.
But when you start complaining every single day about everything, your mind, you're feeding that. Oh, here's another thing that I wanted to give you guys, and this is from a brain surgeon. Actually, you can Google it. When you get angry, when you get upset, by the way, that emotions that you have, like you want to just somebody, by the way, it only lasts 90 seconds. 90 seconds. Okay, so you know what you got to do? You got to just walk away and breathe, right? Because you don't want to lose yourself. At the end of the day, even if the other person is wrong of what they're doing, your reaction to that wrong is also going to be wrong because you're upset. So walk away, educate yourself to do meditation, breathing exercise, something. 90 seconds is all it takes for that emotions to go away. So if you want to do business with people and you don't like the way they talk and you don't like the way they're looking, you don't like the way whatever, 90 seconds and breathe.
You mean to say we should not react instantly?
No, even if you're happy, like, you're happy, sometimes your dopamine just like, oh my God, and you say something wrong because you're happy too and you're trying to relate. 90 seconds, just let it go for 90 seconds. Let it simmer down and then you'll be fine.
We should shut our eyes and keep quiet for a while and then get
Yeah.
resolved.
Yeah. You're like,
Thank you so much.
seconds. I'm going to walk away. 90 seconds. That's all it takes. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
You definitely. Yeah, any more have questions, let me know. Also, if I would love to continue the conversation. You guys are pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And I hang out on LinkedIn. So if you guys have LinkedIn, definitely hit me up on LinkedIn. And if you also own a business, let me know how I can help amplify your message. It's one of my commitment to the world is to amplify your message to my network. And I'm pretty big on YouTube in terms of amplification. And that's
ma'am is very. Can I audible, sir? Hello.
Yes.
Ji. Firstly, I am thankful for Doctor and Professor Principal B.R. Bedkar sir and organized committee. Now today chief speaker, a very excellent explanation. It is a very connected for the teachers and professors in the whole world. Those who have teaching and taught to the students, taught to himself also. We are not teaching to the others. We should teach our himself also. Self improvement is a good improvement. Self began is a best began. I believe that. One more thing is there. Can a psychology or the can our thinking capacity is directly affected to the students or not? For example, we are academically performance or we are understanding of syllabus knowledge, but sometimes student have not get the gathering to connected the syllabus knowledge. He have the general knowledge having he know for the psychologically what he know that what happened in the world, about the business, about the career, about the self improvement. A very good explanation, but such a things I have saying about. What your opinion, please, ma'am?
That's a good question. I've been asked a lot with my employees who are professors. First thing is first, put yourself in the student's shoes. You as a student, now you like them. They see the value in you as a teacher. The rest of that syllabus is nothing. It's blah, 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 blah to them. But if you connect with your student at a personal level, when you explain that syllabus, when you explain that this is important for you to listen to, they listen to you because they like you and they believe in what you're saying. If you can't connect with that student, literally every time you lecture, I see it on my lecture. I do live lectures every day, 6.5 hours a day. They're like, blah, 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 blah. That's literally what our students are seeing. But when I explain, and I also, students are also about practicality, right? Not so much in theory. So if you literally teach them, hey, today we're going to talk about organizational communications, and you read them the theory, this is what happens to them. Shut down. They can't relate. They can't relate. See, it's your job as a teacher to make sure that you take that theory and make sure you relate it based on the age group of your students. So teaching is not about reading the book. Teaching is about reading that book and getting practical approach to your audience. It's like business. If you're gonna sell an ice to an Eskimo, it's not working. They already know ice, right? So it's the same thing for your students. It's our job as a teacher to make sure you take that theory, make it appetizing for them for that age group you're teaching, and then connect it with it. But they first have to like you for them to even listen to you. Perfect. All right. Bye, guys. I do have to go. Thank you guys so much for this time. Thank you for your questions. I appreciate you. And hopefully I'll see you on LinkedIn. Bye, Dr. Bikar. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Krishna. Thank you so much.
इसमें लाइव स्पर्म को सीमेन और डेड स्पर्म से अलग किया जाता है। उसके बाद होता है कंडेंसर, जिसमें स्पर्म को
हो सर हो। हाँ हाँ हाँ। On behalf of the organizing committee of Shri Kumarswami College, Ausa, I am thankful